Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey through the history of ancient Israel. Today, we are stepping into a chapter that is incredibly intense. It's a story full of drama, high stakes, and honestly, it's a bit of a wake-up call. We're looking at what happened right after the massive, impenetrable walls of Jericho came tumbling down. Friends, try to picture the scene. Jericho has just been completely destroyed. The dust is still hanging thick in the air, and the shouts of victory from the Israelites can be heard for miles. Imagine how those people felt. They had just witnessed an absolute miracle. Walls that were thick enough to drive chariots on top of had collapsed just from a shout and the blast of trumpets. They felt like superheroes. They felt invincible. Back at the camp, the atmosphere was electric. Soldiers were laughing and cleaning their swords. Families were hugging. And kids were running around mimicking the sound of the ram's horns. They were 100% sure that the entire land of Canaan would fall into their hands without a fight. But behind all that cheering, there was a dark secret buried deep. Something very dangerous was lurking right in the middle of them. Do you remember the warning? Before the attack on Jericho, Joshua gave a very stern command that came directly from God. He said, "Jericho is the first city, so everything in it belongs to God. It is all set apart. No one is to take anything for themselves. If you break this rule, you will bring a curse upon the entire camp of Israel." Everyone heard it. Everyone agreed. But there was one man whose eyes wouldn't stop wandering. His name was Achan. Let's step into Achan's mind for a moment. While the walls were falling and everyone was busy with the battle, Achan spotted something sparkling under the rubble of a luxury house. His eyes locked onto a beautiful robe from Babylon. It was stunning, the kind of clothing only a king would wear. Right next to it, he saw a pile of silver and a bar of solid gold. In that moment, Achan's heart wavered. The voice of greed started whispering in his ear. "Look at this, Achan. It's just going to get burned anyway. The city is huge. Thousands of people are busy. Who's going to notice if you take just a little bit? God will understand, right?" Achan looked left and right. The coast was clear. With shaking hands, he grabbed the robe and the gold, hid them under his clothes, and hurried back to his tent. He dug a hole right in the middle of his floor, buried his treasure, and covered it up. He sat there, pretending to be a loyal soldier, but he forgot that while he could hide from Joshua, he couldn't hide from the eyes of God. Meanwhile, Joshua was already planning the next move. The next target was a small place called Ai. Compared to Jericho, Ai was tiny. It was like comparing a giant to a toddler. Joshua sent some scouts to check it out, and they came back laughing. They told him, "General Joshua, don't even worry about it. Ai is so small, we don't need the whole army. Just send 2,000 or 3,000 men. It'll be a walk in the park." Joshua thought, "Yeah, that makes sense. If we took down Jericho, Ai is nothing." So about 3,000 soldiers headed up the mountain. They were overconfident. They didn't pray, they didn't ask for God's guidance, they just went, feeling like they were heading to a picnic rather than a war. But as soon as they reached the gates of Ai, the unthinkable happened. The people of Ai didn't run away. They charged out with a terrifying roar. And suddenly, the brave Israelite soldiers were hit with a wave of panic. Their courage completely melted. Instead of attacking, they turned around and ran for their lives, with the men of Ai chasing them down the slope. By the time it was over, 36 Israelite soldiers were dead. The news of this defeat hit the camp like a lightning bolt. Their confidence shattered instantly. People started crying in their tents, and a heavy fear settled over everyone. Joshua was absolutely devastated. He felt ashamed and confused. He tore his clothes, put dust on his head, and fell face down on the ground before the ark of the Lord until the sun went down. He cried out, "O Lord, Why did this happen? Did you bring us across the Jordan just to let us be destroyed? When the rest of Canaan hears about this, they'll surround us and wipe us out." Then, in the silence of Joshua's prayer, God's voice broke through, and it was sharp. God said, "Stand up, Joshua. Why are you lying on your face? Get up. Israel has sinned. Someone has broken my covenant. Someone stole the things that were supposed to be set apart. They lied and hid it among their own stuff. That is why you can't stand against your enemies. You will keep losing until you get rid of the sin in your camp. I will not be with you anymore unless you fix this." Imagine how Joshua felt. He realized their failure wasn't because the enemy was too strong, but because there was a poison inside their own community. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, the whole nation gathered. The air was cold and tense. Joshua explained what God had said, and the process of finding the culprit began. This was a slow, terrifying process of elimination. Thousands of people stood in lines, waiting first. They drew lots by tribe. One by one, the tribes stepped forward, and the lot fell on the tribe of Judah. Achan, standing in that line, felt a cold sweat down his back. His heart was thumping like a drum. Then they narrowed it down to the clans, and it fell on the clan of the Zerahites. Achan's face turned pale. Then came the families, and it fell on the family of Zabdi. Finally, it came down to the individuals, and the name that came up was Achan. The entire nation went silent. Every eye was on him. Achan stood there with nowhere to run. Joshua walked up to him and spoke with a voice that was firm but surprisingly gentle. He said, "My son, give glory to God and tell the truth. What have you done? Don't hide it from me." Achan finally broke. He fell to his knees, sobbing. He admitted everything. "It's true. I saw a beautiful robe, some silver, and a bar of gold, and I wanted them so badly that I took them. They're buried in the ground inside my tent." Joshua sent messengers, and they found exactly what he described. It was a heartbreaking moment because of one man's greed for stuff. 36 families were grieving, and an entire nation was in danger. This was a painful lesson. Achan had to face the consequences of his actions in the valley of Achor. It was a somber day, but the sin had to be cleared so that God's presence could return. After that difficult process was over, the heavy cloud over the camp finally lifted. God spoke to Joshua again, and this time his words were full of hope. "Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army and go up to Ai, for I have delivered the city into your hands." But this time, God gave them a specific strategy. He told them to use an ambush. Joshua chose 30,000 of his best soldiers and sent them out under the cover of night. They crept behind the hills to the west of Ai and hid there in total silence. They were told to stay alert and wait for Joshua's signal. The next morning, Joshua took the rest of the army and marched straight toward the front gate. When the king of Ai saw them coming, he laughed. "Look, they're back for more. Come on, everyone, let's finish them off." Every man in Ai rushed out to attack, leaving the city gates wide open. Joshua and his men pretended to be terrified. They turned around and started running toward the wilderness. The people of Ai were so excited that they chased them far away from their own city. The city was completely empty and unguarded. At that exact moment, God whispered to Joshua, "Hold out your spear toward the city." Joshua raised his spear high in the air. That was the signal. As soon as the soldiers hiding behind the hills saw the spear glinting in the sun, they charged out of their hiding spots. They ran into the unguarded city and immediately set it on fire. Black smoke began to billow into the sky. When the men of Ai looked back, they saw their homes going up in flames. They froze. They were trapped. And right then, Joshua's fleeing army stopped, turned around and charged at them like lions. The soldiers who burned the city also came out from the gates to attack from behind. The army of Ai was caught in the middle, and Israel won a massive total victory. When the battle was over, the mood was different than it was after Jericho. There was no boasting this time. Instead, there was a deep sense of humility and gratitude. They had learned some very expensive lessons. They learned that a small sin isn't small if it hurts the whole community. They learned never to underestimate a challenge or rely on their own strength. And most importantly, they saw that while God is serious about justice, He is also a God of second chances. When they were honest and dealt with their mistakes, He was ready to give them a new strategy and a fresh start. The news of the victory at Ai spread throughout the land, and the other kings of Canaan were shaking in their boots. They realized the God of Israel was the real deal. But there was one group of people who realized they couldn't win with a sword. So they decided to try something else, a trick. Who were they, and would Joshua fall for a lie after just learning about the importance of truth? We will find that out in our next episode, The Deception of the Gibeonites. Until then, stay brave and keep seeking the truth.